You send the message. Your heart races a little as you hit send. Then you see it. The double blue tick. They've read it. They've seen your words, your carefully crafted message, maybe even your vulnerable confession of feelings. But then, silence. Hours pass, days pass, no reply. If you've ever felt that sinking feeling in your stomach when someone leaves you on read, you're not alone. In our hyper-connected world, we've created new forms of emotional torture that our ancestors could never have imagined. The ancient Stoics dealt with unrequited love, rejection, and emotional pain, but they never had to navigate the psychological minefield of read receipts, online status indicators, and the crushing weight of digital silence. Today, we're going to explore one of the most universally experienced forms of modern heartbreak through the lens of ancient wisdom. We'll discover how Stoic philosophy can transform your relationship with digital communication, help you reclaim your emotional freedom, and ultimately make you more attractive and confident in love. This isn't just about getting over being left on read. This is about fundamentally changing how you approach relationships in the digital age. But first, let me tell you about Sarah. Sarah was a successful marketing executive, confident in every area of her life except one. She'd been talking to someone she met on a dating app for 3 weeks. The conversations were flowing. They'd been on 2 amazing dates, and she felt like she was finally connecting with someone special. Then she sent what she thought was a sweet good morning text. Double blue ticks appeared immediately, but no reply came. Sarah spent the next 6 hours checking her phone every few minutes. She analyzed the message from every angle. Was it too clingy? Too boring? Too much? She crafted and deleted dozens of follow-up messages. She checked his social media to see if he was active. She asked her friends to analyze the situation. By the end of the day, she was emotionally exhausted and her confidence was shattered. Sound familiar? Sarah's story is playing out millions of times every day across the globe. We've created a world where a simple lack of response can trigger our deepest insecurities and send us spiraling into anxiety and self-doubt. But what if I told you that philosophers from over 2,000 years ago already had the tools to handle this exact situation? The Stoics understood something profound about human nature and emotional suffering. They realized that our pain doesn't come from external events themselves, but from our judgments and interpretations of those events. Epictetus, who lived from 50 to 135 AD, taught that we suffer not from what happens to us, but from our opinions about what happens to us. Think about that double blue tick situation again. The facts are simple. You sent a message. The other person read it. They haven't responded yet. That's it. Those are the only facts. Everything else, all the emotional turmoil, the anxiety, the spinning narratives about what it means, that's all coming from your mind. The Stoics called this mental activity our judgments or opinions, and they taught that this is where we have complete control. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote in his personal journal, which we now call Meditations, that we have the power to strip events of the stories we tell ourselves about them. He said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When someone doesn't reply to your message, you're not actually suffering from their lack of response. You're suffering from what you're telling yourself that lack of response means. Maybe you're telling yourself they don't like you. Maybe you're deciding they've found someone better. Maybe you're convinced you said something wrong. But these are all stories, not facts. The Stoic practice of examining our judgments is revolutionary when applied to digital communication. Instead of automatically assuming the worst when someone doesn't reply, we can pause and ask ourselves what we actually know versus what we're assuming. We can separate the facts from our interpretations. Let's go deeper into this. Why do we react so strongly to being left on read? The answer lies in our evolutionary psychology. Humans are social creatures who evolved in small tribes where social rejection could literally mean death. Being ignored or rejected by the group was a threat to survival. Our brains still carry these ancient alarm systems, which is why social rejection activates the same pain centers as physical injury. But here's the crucial insight the Stoics would offer. Just because our brains are wired to react strongly to perceived social rejection doesn't mean we have to be slaves to those reactions. We can acknowledge the feeling without being controlled by it. We can recognize that a delayed text response in 2025 is not the same as being cast out of the tribe in 50,000 BC. Seneca, another great Stoic philosopher, taught about the discipline of desire. He said that wanting things outside our control is the root of human suffering. When you send a message and expect a specific response within a specific time frame, you're desiring something completely outside your control. You cannot control when or how another person chooses to communicate. You cannot control their schedule, their mood, their priorities, or their communication style. What you can control is your own response to their communication or lack thereof. You can control whether you send that message from a place of genuine connection or from neediness. You can control whether you interpret silence as rejection or simply as silence. You can control whether you spend your day refreshing your messages or living your life fully. This brings us to one of the most powerful Stoic concepts for modern dating, the dichotomy of control. This principle teaches us to focus our energy only on what we can actually influence and to accept what we cannot. In the context of digital communication, you control what you send, when you send it, and how you respond to what you receive. You don't control what the other person sends, when they send it, or whether they send anything at all. When you fully internalize this principle, something magical happens. You stop being reactive to other people's communication patterns. You stop taking delayed responses personally. You stop creating elaborate stories about what someone's texting style means about their feelings for you. Instead, you become centered in your own experience and your own choices. This doesn't mean becoming cold or indifferent. The Stoics weren't emotionless robots. They felt love, attraction, and connection deeply. But they didn't let these feelings make them desperate or needy. They approached relationships from a place of strength rather than weakness, abundance rather than scarcity. Imagine how differently you would show up in your romantic life if you weren't constantly anxious about response times. Imagine how much more attractive you would be if you weren't needy for constant validation through text messages. Imagine how much more present you could be on actual dates if you weren't worried about whether they'll text you afterward. This is the power of Stoic principles applied to modern love. You become someone who enjoys connection without being dependent on it. You become someone who can express interest without being attached to the outcome. You become someone who brings value to interactions rather than constantly seeking validation from them. Let's talk about practical application. The next time you find yourself anxiously waiting for a response, try this Stoic exercise. First, acknowledge what you're feeling without judgment. It's okay to feel disappointed or curious about someone's lack of response. These feelings are natural and human. Next, separate the facts from your interpretations. The fact is, they haven't responded yet. Your interpretation might be that they don't like you, but that's just one possible explanation among many. They might be busy, they might be crafting a thoughtful response, they might have family issues, they might have lost their phone, or they might simply have a different communication style than you. Then, redirect your focus to what you can control. Instead of checking your phone every 5 minutes, engage in activities that bring you joy and fulfillment. Work on your goals, spend time with friends, pursue your hobbies, take care of your health. Live your life so fully that someone else's communication patterns become a minor detail rather than the center of your universe. The ancient Stoics also understood the importance of emotional resilience. They practiced negative visualization, imagining potential setbacks or disappointments, not to be pessimistic, but to build mental strength and reduce attachment to specific outcomes. You can apply this to dating by mentally preparing for various responses or lack thereof. Before you send an important message, take a moment to consider different possible outcomes. Maybe they'll respond enthusiastically. Maybe they'll respond neutrally. Maybe they won't respond at all. By mentally rehearsing these possibilities, you reduce the shock and emotional impact of any particular outcome. This practice also helps you make better decisions about what to communicate and when. If you're only willing to send a message that you'd feel good about, regardless of the response, you'll naturally become more authentic and less needy in your communication. Now, let's address a common misconception. Some people think that applying Stoic principles to dating means becoming detached or not caring about the outcome. This isn't true. The Stoics cared deeply about virtue, relationships, and living well, but they understood the difference between caring about something and being attached to it. You can care about building a connection with someone while accepting that the outcome is not entirely up to you. You can put effort into getting to know someone while recognizing that compatibility is a two-way street. You can be vulnerable and authentic while maintaining your emotional equilibrium. In fact, this balanced approach makes you far more attractive than someone who is desperate for a response or trying to control the other person's behavior. People are naturally drawn to those who are confident, self-possessed, and emotionally stable. When you're not anxiously waiting for their next message, you give them space to actually miss you and want to connect. Think about the people in your life who you most enjoy talking to. Chances are they're not the ones who make you feel pressured to respond immediately or who get upset when you don't text back right away. They're probably the ones who bring positive energy to interactions without making those interactions feel like obligations. The Stoic concept of preferred indifference is also relevant here. The Stoics taught that while virtue is the only true good, there are things that are naturally preferable but not essential for happiness. Getting a quick response to your text might be preferable, but it's not necessary for your well-being or self-worth. This perspective helps you maintain proper priorities. While it's nice when someone responds quickly and enthusiastically to your messages, their communication style doesn't determine your value as a person or your capacity for happiness. Your worth comes from your character, your actions, and your commitment to living according to your values. As we near the end of our exploration, let's revisit Sarah's story. After learning about Stoic principles, Sarah approached her dating life differently. When she sent messages, she focused on expressing herself authentically rather than trying to get a specific response. When someone didn't reply quickly, she used it as an opportunity to practice acceptance and redirect her energy toward her own goals and interests. The result was transformative. Not only did she feel less anxiety and stress around dating, but she also became more attractive to potential partners. Her confidence and emotional stability drew people to her. She stopped attracting people who were drawn to neediness and started connecting with those who appreciated her strength and independence. 6 months later, Sarah met someone who became her long-term partner. But more importantly, she had developed a relationship with herself that didn't depend on external validation. She had learned to find fulfillment in her own life, while remaining open to meaningful connections with others. The double blue tick will probably continue to exist as long as we use digital communication. The anxiety of being left on red might always be a temptation. But you now have the tools that philosophers have used for over 2 millennia to maintain your emotional freedom, regardless of how others choose to communicate. Remember, You are not at the mercy of other people's texting habits. You are not defined by how quickly someone responds to your messages. You are not obligated to sacrifice your peace of mind on the altar of instant communication. You have the power to choose your response to every situation. You can choose to interpret silence with curiosity rather than fear. You can choose to live your life fully rather than waiting for your phone to buzz. You can choose to approach relationships from strength rather than neediness. The ancient Stoics faced their own challenges in love and relationships. They dealt with rejection, unrequited feelings, and the complexity of human connection. But they developed timeless principles that can guide us through the unique challenges of love in the digital age. Take these lessons with you as you navigate your own romantic journey. Apply them not just when you're left on read, but in all areas of your relationships. Build the kind of inner strength and emotional resilience that makes you attractive, not because you're perfect, but because you're grounded in who you are. Your worth doesn't decrease based on someone else's inability to see it. Your value doesn't fluctuate with your notification count. Your capacity for love and connection doesn't depend on immediate responses to your messages. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. Choose to think in ways that serve your happiness, your growth, and your relationships. Choose to love from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. Choose to communicate from authenticity rather than anxiety." The double blue tick may remain blue, but your response to it can transform everything about how you experience love in the digital age. The power has always been in your hands. The ancient Stoics simply remind us how to use it.